Hi everyone, it's Casey Williams. Well, back in July, I had a chance to drive the brand new Subaru Crosstrek, the 2018 edition, out in South Dakota. And during that drive, we spent most of our time on gravel roads and rough trails, and even drove the thing through a rock quarry. And the car was impressive. But you know, when you drive it somewhere like that and then you get it back home, and sometimes things are a little bit different. So we want to get the new Crosstrek back home, drive in the city, drive it on the highway, and experience it in everyday life. So here it is, the 2018 Subaru Crosstrek. Well, if you like the last generation Crosstrek, I think you're gonna like this one even better. If you're just looking for a good compact crossover, I think it's worth a look. And I really like the styling. I think they've really made some nice changes. It's a little less sleek, it's a little more fortified, looks a little tougher in the front, a little taller grille, but you still know it's a Crosstrek. I like the headlamps, the LED driving lamps around them, lower fog lamps. They've kept the gray plastic cladding down below, gives it that tough off-road appearance. You hear the gray cladding around the wheel wells too. Again, actually really protects it from stone chips and rocks. This is the limited edition, so it has the 18-inch alloy wheels on it. You've got 8.7 inches of ground clearance, and for a compact crossover or tall wagon, that's really quite a bit. And again, out in South Dakota, we had a lot of chance to drive it off-road, drove it through a rock quarry, and it was really impressive what you could do with that ground clearance. So you're looking at the car, it has a 1.2-inch longer wheelbase, which is pretty substantial in a car this size. But the car is only about a half an inch, 0.6 inches longer overall. Almost all of that space went into the back seat legroom. And you really do notice it inside. It feels more like an Outback in the back instead of a compact. But again, the overall appearance, you just notice the lines are a little crisper, just looks a little more modern, a little more refined on the outside too. More gray cladding back here. Again, it looks the part of an off-road vehicle, but actually serves a practical purpose. Roof rails, you get all kinds of attachments for those if you're into biking or surfing or whatever you want. And really a nice sized luggage compartment, again, for a small car like this. Both the back seats go down. I love the Subaru rubber mats they have in the back. Keeps everything clean. Little tie down hooks on the sides as well. So you can get all your gear in there. Again, 4 people. You can get all their gear in there. 2 people very comfortably for a week away. 2 people and a kid, no problem. Well, I didn't even have to open the hood for you to know it has a horizontally opposed engine. That's a Subaru trademark. But this one's a 2-liter 4-cylinder, delivers 152 horsepower. We're also set to the all-wheel drive system, which is standard, through a continuously variable transmission. I don't always love CVTs, but Subaru does a pretty good job with them. Sometimes they vibrate, sometimes they buzz a little bit. If you want to shift it for yourself, or you just want to have the feeling of real gears, when you paddle shift it, there are 7 preset gear ratios, so you can click through those and it feels more like gears. It all works out pretty well. Talk about fuel economy, pretty good for a car like this, especially with standard all-wheel drive. 27 miles per gallon in the city, 33 miles per gallon on the highway. I think that works out really well. So this car has some other things. Again, you've got 8.7 inches of ground clearance, so you can tackle some pretty tall obstacles. And the car has a system called X mode, which is their version of hill descent control. You press a button in the center console, and it'll modulate the powertrain and the brakes going down pretty steep inclines. You know, we had it in South Dakota. We were in the rock quarry playing around, steep inclines, loose gravel. The car was pretty amazing. I think it impressed all of us that were out there. But one other thing I want to talk about with this car, and really separates this from the last generation, it's on a brand new architecture that's shared with the Impreza. It's also going to be shared with the next generation Outback and Legacy. And they've redesigned the body structure to do a much better job of dissipating crash forces, so it's a safer car. But you also feel it when you go over rough roads. The body structure just feels a lot stiffer and a lot stronger. And along with that, they redid the suspension system as well. And the last generation was not bad. It absorbs shocks pretty well. It's got tall tires on it. So, it wasn't bad at all. But we really noticed with this one, especially when we're out in South Dakota on really rough gravel roads, for days, is it just absorbs, rough pavement, almost like an Audi. You just glide over it, you almost wonder where it went. And it's a near magical experience in a car that does not have electronic suspension. So overall, the driving experience is much improved. 152 horsepower is not much. If you're trying to accelerate up a hill and you've got 4 people on board, you're going to have some scary moments perhaps. But driven reasonably, it's comfortable on the highway, it's comfortable in town, and does what you need it to do. Well, I think one of the biggest improvements on this car was in the interior. To me, it just feels more refined, a little more luxurious. Starting with the seats, I like them. Heated leather seats are very nice, very supportive. With the orange stitching, that's a Crosstrek trademark. You also got orange stitching on the dash, here on the shifter, and orange stitching here on the leather-wrapped steering wheel. I like Subaru steering wheels, nice, thick, feel very solid and secure. I like that as well. Got automatic climate control, and they've completely reworked the infotainment system. And I think now it's one of the best in its class. So it's kept simple. You've got a volume knob, tuning knob, easy to use there. You've got radio, navigation, the app suite, and your media player, all with buttons here. You can also control it up above the touch screen. If you want to direct tune stations, you can do that. Type it right in, go straight to it. You can browse it like a swipe screen. It's kind of like your tablet. So that's very good. This has Apple CarPlay compatibility, has Android Auto compatibility. This car also has the Harman Kardon audio system, which I highly recommend, because if you get the bass system, it just doesn't sound nearly as well. This has the power glass moonroof up above. And like I said, this has X mode. The button for that is right here for your hill descent control. Those are actually buttons for the heated seats. But another thing this car has that I like a lot too, it has Subaru's EyeSight crash avoidance system. So instead of using radar, it uses stereo cameras. There's one on each side up here by the mirror. And this is how it adjusts the adaptive cruise control. It keeps you a safe distance on the highway. It's also for your forward collision warning system, your forward collision mitigation system with the auto brake system on it. It's also got your lane keep assist warning system as well, all integrated into this. And I found that works very natural, very intuitive, and works very nice. But one of the things really about this car too is, they've just really vastly improved, the rear seat legroom. To me, it feels much more like the Outback. It feels like a bigger car and less like a compact. You can actually get two real people in the back now. They can stretch out, be comfortable. And the old car wasn't just horribly uncomfortable, but it was a just noticeable difference that it just becomes a place where you could ride for many miles and not be cramped. Well, the compact crossover segment is one of the fastest growing segments of the auto industry today. And getting this car back home, driving it, on paved roads, driving in the city, driving every day, driving on the highway, driving in the real world, has really proved this car has what it takes to compete. First of all, it has pretty substantial off-road capability. You've got the high ground clearance, you've got the horizontally opposed engine, it has plenty of power, plenty of torque, do what you need it to do. It's not an overly powered car, and again, you get 4 people aboard and hit the throttle, it feels underpowered, but it's got enough for what this car is. And I think what this car really has for it too is just the driving refinement of the car. It just glides over bumps, it just feels more expensive than its price indicates. Overall, a very good job by Subaru with this car. So looking at pricing, starts just under $22,000. As equipped, you're looking at $30,655. But again, that's on the high end for a compact crossover, but this car has absolutely everything on it. It has the crash avoidance systems, it has the heated leather seats, it has a Harman Kardon audio system, it has navigation, it has everything you'd ever want. Plus, it's got the steering wheel drive system that I think is really worth having on this car. So next week we'll have another fun car, and until then, storm forward.